Good morning, guys. I'm already running into technical issues, man. First things first, hey, please like, follow, subscribe, Treeline Podcast. I'm only using one camera today. I'm going to try to take that approach. I'm just running into too many technical issues as well. We're talking about SSRIs today, so if you're not into that, then I suggest you move forward. But yeah, SSRIs. I did watch a video on them, so I'm going to get a little bit into depth on these things. But please, if you haven't already, check out the little Treeline Podcast store. You can access it from either the Treeline Podcast YouTube, the Treeline Podcast Clips YouTube page, or you can access it, I believe, from the Instagram page and the Facebook page as well. Okay, so I'm really trying not to lose my audio. I lost it earlier. I think it was because of my cat. So I lost about 25 minutes of audio, which, if I had to delete everything, it pissed me off a lot. No worries. That's why I'm here, to redo this. All right, so moving forward, another announcement, you guys. Actually, before we get into the third announcement, about the Treeline Podcast store, please, like I said, go check it out. If you want to get a sweatshirt or something, or a shirt, Treeline Podcast helps support the podcast. Or if you want to get a mug or a bumper sticker, something small and cheap, you can do that too. Try to support the podcast. But if you can't afford it, also just watch or listen on Spotify, watch on YouTube, like, follow, subscribe. That's all you really have to do, and I appreciate that more than anything in the world. If obviously, if you can afford to get some stuff, if you can afford to help support the podcast, please do so. That'd be great. But if not, like I said, don't even sweat it, dude. Just keep hustling, do what you got to do, stay on top of your grind, and please like, follow, subscribe, and either watch or listen. All right. So that's all I have to say about the store today. And this is the third announcement I'm going to make, and then we're going to get into the SSRI stuff. I'm going to start moving away from TikTok, you guys. And the reason being is not because I don't like TikTok or I don't like the people on TikTok or anything like that. It's just like TikTok is like, I've gone viral a couple times on TikTok, which is fine, and that's cool and all, but I don't know if it's like for real viral, and I'm not going to keep wasting my time with it because it just seems like they put you viral every 3-4 months just to kind of hook you into staying on the app, and then they just kind of like shortchange you every video you do. So it's just I'm just kind of over it. So I'm gonna post stuff on there, like probably more like behind the scenes. Maybe I'm not gonna really edit a whole lot of stuff for TikTok anymore. It's just TikTok is kind of shady too. I've seen a bunch of videos just about how like shitty, men with first of all, men with mental health issues, they get shit on TikTok fucking daily. And then TikTok's just people shitting on people literally constantly. So, and then China's got like their version, which is like literally they encourage each other. They learn. It's just strictly knowledge and shit. Like, it's like, it makes them smarter, but we're over here shitting on each other. It's just like, I'm just kind of grossed out by it right now. So maybe I'll come back to it, but for now, I'm just going to start trying to move away from TikTok. But it doesn't mean I'm not coming off. I'm not coming off YouTube. I'm not coming off Spotify, Facebook, or Instagram. I'm still going to be there. So if you still engage on those platforms, please continue to do so. But yeah, so that's the third announcement. I'm just going to start moving away from TikTok. Anyways, SSRIs. Now, when I'm talking about SSRIs, these things are called. Dude, I just had it pulled up too. But yeah, so I watched this video on YouTube, and this guy, he is a psychologist. His YouTube page is Healthy Gamer GG. And the video is titled "Psychiatrist Tells the Truth About Antidepressants." So if you watch the video, he's talking about, I guess, a paper that came out, a medical journal, and that he read it, and he was giving his 2 cents on it. He's his 2 cents is they're very kind of like pro SSRI, pro antidepressant. I think that's just kind of his stance as a psychiatrist. Hard for me to trust people like that, just because like you remember, like if you've seen that show Painkillers. I don't think we've talked about this. Hey, if you haven't seen the show Painkillers or Painkiller. I'm not sure if it's Painkiller or Painkillers. It's about the Kessingers, I believe their last name was, and they ran Purdue Pharmaceuticals in the 90s into the early 2000s, I believe it was, and they came up with this pill called OxyContin, which is basically heroin in pill form, and they sold it, to doctors all across the country so they could sell to their patients, and literally killed like 600,000 people due to the fact that it was addictive. It was fucking heroin, right? And these people were literally like lining up at doctors' offices just saying they had the littlest ounce of pain so they could fucking get some Oxycontin. Like they were fucking junkies, man. Hey, not to discredit that. That's directed by Peter Berg, I believe his name is. It's a really good show. It just came out on Netflix. Check it out. It's called Painkiller, and it's just about like the Oxycontin issue that the Kessinger family, like I said, were responsible for, and they paid like $6 billion to the FDA or the federal government or something, so they wouldn't be able to be prosecuted. So basically, they're walking around the streets of our country after literally eliminating 600,000 lives, dude, and just claiming that it was a pill that was not addictive, or there was no signs of addiction, like through the clinical trials. All bullshit. Anyways, check it out, Painkiller on Netflix. Super good show. But it gave me the idea, like these doctors that they prescribe you these pills, they tell you all this shit, great things about these pills, and they're gonna make your depression go away and things like that, and then we'll get you off the pill, it'll be no problem. There's no long term addictive effects, all these things, dude. It's just like these guys are pill peddlers, bro. And if you watch that show, Painkiller, like they got these pretty young girls, like pretty much. They got cleavage sticking out, like sexy long legs, walking in, like flirting with doctors to sell them on this idea of Oxycontin so they could peddle that shit to their patients. Dude, it's a fucked up industry, man. Actually, it's not. It's like any other industry. It's sales. It's literally sales. They took our medical well-being and turned it into another sales industry. Like that's all it is, bro. And some of these girls that were doing that, these pretty girls, like they didn't even know they were doing wrong. Like they just thought they were being innocent and helping people with pain, but their pretty looks were used to sell pills. And it's really sad, kind of crazy. Anyways, that's the show Painkiller. Like check it out. It's really good. Again, directed by Peter Berg on Netflix. It gives you an idea of kind of the pill peddling trade, which has been around for decades. So check it out. Remember, a lot of these doctors, dude, they're just fucking charlatans. No offense if you're a doctor, and if you're a doctor and you practice correctly, and let's say Oxycontin is a good thing for your patient because they're terminal cancer or something. So why not let them go into the next phase, into death, the next phase of whatever it is we're here doing? Why not let them go at a little bit more of a peaceful state of mind, a little, I don't know, fucking woozy, If I'm dying, if I'm terminal, yeah, I'll be on heroin. Fuck yeah. I've never done it in my life. I mean, I think I've done Oxycontin though, because they'll prescribe it. If you get a tooth pulled, you'll get Oxycontin. They'll give it to a kid, bro. They'll give it to kids. Either way. Anyways, I'm sure it's a lot more regulated now. But back in the 90s and early 2000s, that shit was fucking off the walls. I don't know why I'm going so in depth on that show, but check it out again, Painkiller on Netflix. Yeah, so this guy goes into talking about how okay, so he's talking about how when you're on antidepressants, it's not because you are. It's to fix your depression. It's not to fix your depression now, right? When you're on antidepressants or like fluoxetine, which is what I was on, Prozac, if you're on these things, it's because you are more prone. This, according to him, you are more prone to depression episodes. So you get them more often than the normal person. He said it's not a chemical imbalance. He said that, and which I'm not sure if it is either. I'm not like scientifically inclined, but he says, according to the paper he's reading, and this guy's got 1.6 million followers and calls himself a psychiatrist. Healthy Gamer GG, check him out. Considering he's credible, if you call yourself a psychiatrist and you have 1.6 million followers, you're probably a psychiatrist. Okay. So I'm going to say that's pretty credible enough, just because he has a following of 1.6 million followers. But he says that antidepressants are to help minimize those, to make you have less episodes, less depressive episodes, less suicidal thoughts, less things like that. Talking about suicidal thoughts, he brought this up a lot too. So suicidal thoughts, I guess he was saying, are not directly because of the SSRI or the Prozac, antidepressant, fluoxetine, whatever the fuck it is you're using. It's not directly because of that. He says that you have to look at the subjects, right? He says that the majority of people that are on antidepressants started antidepressants because of suicidal thoughts or something like that. So if they have suicidal thoughts while on antidepressants, it could be just because they were already having suicidal thoughts. That's a cop-out, my dog. Like, it just sounds like a cop-out, even when I'm saying it. And I didn't even realize it was a cop-out till I just said it to you guys. That's a fucking cop-out, bro. Either way, let's push forward. I want to give a little bit of my 2 cents, my experience with it, because I was on SSRIs for more than a year. I want to say probably like 2 years and some change. And they'll keep giving them to you, too. You keep asking for them, the doctors will keep giving them to you. And I don't know if there's a limit, man. I know there's a limit to the dosage because I was stopped at a certain dosage, but it was a lot. And I was taking like 3 or 4 pills. And I don't know, I think it was like, I can't remember exactly, 20 milligrams. Does that sound right? It was the bigger pill. But I was taking like 3 or 4 of those in the morning and then 3 or 4 of those at night. So I was taking them like 8 of those things a day. But the doctors were cool with it. Like, it was okay. It was supposed, like, that was my dosage. But it's crazy, man. It's just so many fucking pills. So he was saying, another thing he was saying is that these things aren't necessarily addictive. Now, it's such a hard claim to say that something's not addictive and then in the same breath say that depending on the person, it takes between 1 and 8 weeks to be effective. Now, dude, if you tell a layman, a patient like me, and I'm telling you, I'm grunt smart, dude. I'm a knuckle dragger, dude. I'm hard headed. Like this is a thick noodle, bro. There's not a lot in there, but it's pretty hard. So like when you tell me that it's not addictive, but it might take 8 weeks for me to see an effect. Like it's hard. It's hard for me to say no to that. I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah. It takes 8 weeks for me to see an effect. Yeah, let's give it a shot. And then you end up taking a pill or 2 pills or however many pills you're taking every day for 8 weeks, right? And then now what? Now it becomes a routine. And as we all know, grunts, military people, routines are addictive, man. Like once you're into a good routine and it's part of your life like that. A good, healthy routine is a good, healthy addiction. A bad, unhealthy routine is bad, healthy addiction. Like eating shitty food, right? You do it on a daily basis. It's a bad habit, but it's an addiction. You just keep, I'm sorry, it's just hard for me to separate the two. A routine and addiction, for me, go hand in hand, right? Let's say you're doing something every fucking day. Every fucking day. You eat breakfast no, dude, I'm not going to try to, this is so hard for me to make an example. It's so hard for me to make an example right now because, is there some, okay, you smoke, I guess you call it cigarettes. I don't know where I'm going with. All I'm saying is if I have to do something for 8 weeks and make it a part of my routine to where like I literally do it like clockwork every day, and it becomes a part of me, that's an addiction, my friend. It's an addiction, and it gets worse because the more you do it, the more you ask the doctor for more. Dude, I was on this shit, and I was doing it for 2-3 months at a time before I'd have to come back to the doctor and ask for more dosage because I just wasn't feeling the same. It started to feel stagnant. It started to feel like it leveled out, so I would need more. And if anybody knows addiction, you need more. You need more. Like you get drunk so often, right? And at some point you need more alcohol to get that drunk. You get high so often, right? At some point you're going to need more drug to get that same high. What do they say about cocaine? Like chasing the dragon, you'll never get that high again like you did the first time, right? So like no matter what, like you always need more. And nothing's different about SSRIs, at least for me in my experience. I just needed more. I wanted more to the point where I felt like I had to quit cold turkey, even though I felt good, right? That's another thing. Like he talks about like quitting. You should taper off. I'm about that. I think you should taper off. I think you should talk to your medical professional, your doctor, or whatever, and they should help you get off of these SSRIs, help you get off a Prozac or whatever the fuck. I just say Prozac because that's the only one I know. And I don't know if it's the strongest one or a weaker one. I'm not sure. I don't know, honestly. But I do know that that's the one I'm familiar with. So I think going back now, if I could have, but I didn't have a doctor. The VA was just sending me this shit. Now, my situation, I guess, is unique because the doctor I had like retired like up until I say 3-4 months after or before I stopped taking Prozac completely. So I just wasn't talking to doctors. They just kept sending me shit. So I was just kind of over it, and I felt like it was time to come off it. But I guess if I could go back and do it again, I would try to get a hold of the VA and go do it with a medical professional. I think it would have been probably a lot smarter, like he says, to taper off, because stopping cold turkey. I had a buddy hit me up too after that self-check video and tell me the same thing, that he thought it was probably the medication, but it just makes sense to taper off, because when you're taking all those meds and you're asking for more and more and more, they taper you up, right? They taper you up. They don't give you the highest dose right off the bat. So maybe taking the lowest dose or none right off the bat, off the highest dose, is not the best decision to make. So tapering off makes sense to me. It doesn't sound like a fun process, right? Because as you taper down, I'm sure like your mood's going to go down with it. I think the way I quit is like when I did a cold turkey, it's just like, maybe your mood sails for a little bit. Eventually, it just fucking drops, and then it might shoot up. I think it just does this thing until it bounces back out eventually. And I think I'm starting to come to that balance. But sometimes I'll feel like away one side or the other, a little less and less every time. So that's what makes me think I'm kind of balancing out. But but just that being said, I do think tapering off is the way I should have went with it. So if you're trying to come off SSRIs, I recommend you talk to your health professional. And if they come at you saying like, I don't think that's a good idea, maybe you should stay on them. Like then you should get a new health professional. Another thing too, man. He was talking about suicidal thoughts, and this is something that kind of struck me because, and I explained this in the last time I filmed, but like I said, I lost it because of the fucking audio. And I had a hard time explaining it, so I'm gonna try to explain it to where it's easy for me to understand. Okay. Now, I consider myself a critical thinker, okay? So do I think I've considered suicide in the past? Before the SSRIs, have I considered suicide? I have weighed the pros and cons of suicide in the past. And I think as a man, as a man that thinks critically, I think you'd be lying to yourself if you've never, even minusculely in your mind, considered the pros and cons of taking your own life. I just think it's... Even if a psychologist tells you it's wrong, or if a doctor tells you it's wrong, I think it's just human nature to consider the pros and cons. It's just human nature to consider: do I leave a legacy behind, or do I leave shame behind? Like, what do I leave behind if I pull myself out the equation right now? I just think it's healthy as a human to understand the pros and cons of having the power to pull yourself out of the equation. That being said, have I considered killing myself? No. Do I consider killing myself? No. The answer is no. I'm not suicidal. All right. I just want to make that clear. I want to make sure you understand, as a man, I think it's okay and healthy to kind of consider pros and cons of having the power of pulling yourself out of an equation. I don't think you should, but I think you should. You should, as a critical thinker, think through some of these processes. If I pull myself out now, do I leave a legacy behind, or do I leave shame behind? If I pull myself out now, are people going to benefit around me, or are people going to not benefit around me? It's just like, it's healthy to think about in a sense. Is like, okay, maybe not even suicide. If I get hit by a car tomorrow, I guess you can think of it that sense too. But then you kind of take your power aspect out of the equation. You're no longer in power of taking yourself out of the equation if you get hit by a car accidentally, right? Anyways, just a critical thought. I'm not saying I've considered it. I'm just saying I've thought critically about it. All right. But he says that suicidal ideation and thoughts, like serious suicidal thoughts, coming from those coming off of antidepressants, are from those that were predisposed to suicidal thoughts prior to the SSRIs, which kind of makes sense, because I think that hopefully a doctor would only prescribe you these fucking pills, these things, right, that we really don't know how they operate. We just know they do something. And this dude even says it in the video, like not that, I don't know how long they've been around, but he says for years, like we don't even really know what they do. We just kind of know they help. They make, or whatever. That he says in the video, I'm not going to say it verbatim, but you can check out the video. Like I said, he's at Healthy Gamer GG on YouTube, 1.6 million followers. The video is Psychiatrist Tells the Truth About Antidepressants. Anyways, back to the suicidal thought thing. I think when I quit cold turkey, which he says you shouldn't, and I agree with that. I think you shouldn't. After having done that, I probably wouldn't have done that again. I definitely would have used the help of a medical professional to taper off of antidepressants and SSRIs, but I didn't. I did do it cold turkey. So that being said, I think the thoughts I had about suicide, let's be real, I think those thoughts got a lot more real and a lot more intense after coming away from the SSRIs. I've never felt that way about doing anything like that seriously, up until coming off those SSRIs. So I don't believe, and like I said before, I've considered things as a critical thinker. I've considered things, but I have never really seriously thought about doing it. So am I one of those people that are predisposed? I don't believe I'm one of those people that are predisposed to suicidal thought. I think I'm a critical thinker that have thought logically through situations that could potentially take place in my mind. I don't think I'm suicidal. I never have. But I do consider myself a critical thinker. And I think through situations, if they happen or not, I still think through situations. And I think a naturally healthy human should. That being said, having those thoughts after coming off the SSRIs, the real thoughts that I can't deny them, man. Like I made that self-check video and dude, like I was feeling certain types of fucking ways, bro. So it's hard for me to say that I was predisposed to thoughts like that because I don't think I was. So for him to kind of say that like suicidal thoughts coming off of antidepressants are usually routed to those. Usually I like to use the word usually. I'm not sure he used the word usually. Excuse me for my damn stuttering. You usually. But I'm not sure if he used that term, but I think it was along those lines. He didn't say it was definitive, but he did say something along the lines of usually it is people that are predisposed to that thought. And again, that makes sense. I just don't think I was one of those individuals. I'm just telling you my personal experience with these things. You might have a different personal experience. You might use SSRIs and you might attest that 100% they make your life better, make you a more effective, better individual in your community, whatever. You might have that experience with them. I'm just telling you, I'm just giving you my experience with them. The only problem, I guess, while on SSRIs is like the leveling out. So when you're on a dosage, it will level out and you will start to feel down, like a Dewey Downer, like on a regular basis. And that's when you call your doctor, you call the VA and you ask to up your dose. And that's what they'll do. They'll give you more. That was probably one of the hard things to deal with while on SSRIs, but it wasn't even that hard to deal with because you can recognize or notice, the Dewey Downer times, and you're like, okay, it's time to up the dose. And so that it sucked, I guess, for a little period of time because you'd eventually get your new dose, and a lot of times it's just literally that day. You get you can talk to the doctor through the Vet Health on your literally on your phone on your app. And you're just like, hey, I'm feeling this way. Can I up my dose? And they're like, yeah, go for it. You can do this, this, and this. Like literally, you can do it all through your phone, not even talking to a doctor. It's fucking insane. But but that being said, that was hard for me, I guess, a little bit of Dewey Downer times. But the biggest part, looking back on it now, and I wish they'd harp on this a little bit more. And the doctor did tell me this, that I'm not sure if it's SSRIs or all antidepressants, but I do know that fluoxetine or Prozac specifically was explained to me that there are cases where people feel manic or they get they get mania, which basically means you just kind of stop caring about everything around you. You spend kind of a lot of money just not giving a shit, and you kind of just everything is kind of material. Nothing really fucking matters. It's just all about smiling and being happy, and people around you kind of pay for that. It sucks for the people around you because you stop giving a shit about everybody's feelings and shit. Now I can attest that is true. Like you will get, if you were like me and you keep asking for the higher dose, you know what I mean? You will get manic. And there is a good example of mania or manic right now in the media world. If you ever heard of this dude, Floozy or Flousy? I think Flousy or something. But he's been going viral lately on YouTube and TikTok and stuff. I'm not sure. I think I can't remember if he's Iranian or something. But he's American. but he's like Iranian descent. I'm not sure, something like that. But I'm not sure if it's SSRIs or antidepressants that he's on. But this guy is obviously manic. You can tell that the outside world really doesn't apply to him. And I think that's probably the best way I can explain mania. The outside world doesn't really apply to you. You kind of just do what the fuck you want to do. And no one's feelings really matter in the meantime. So if you want to take like, I guess, a firsthand look at that, just Google Flousy or Flousy, I guess his name is Flousy or Flousy or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. Google him, check him out. He's definitely going through a manic episode right now. He's been called out by a lot of other YouTubers on it as well, and it's just kind of blatant and obvious to see. I'm not sure what he was prior to whatever medications he might be on, but you can tell he's obviously mania. He's just happy all the time. It's all about the attention. It's just all about him and no one else. And that I don't know if, I guess people could say that's narcissistic, but it's maybe that's mania and narcissistic. I think might go hand in hand because you really don't give a shit about other people. At least I felt that it was my feelings were the only ones that mattered. That's how I felt about it. You might have a different experience, but I'm just telling you. Like I said from the beginning of this video, the beginning of this podcast, this is just my opinion. Your opinion might differ by a lot. And if it does, that's fine. Leave a comment. Let me know. And a lot of you guys sometimes leave comments that are, pretty negative. And I'm not going to respond. Look, man, if you're going to talk shit on my comment section, bro, I might like it or something. I encourage encourage the engagement. But I don't know if you're like trying to get me to say something so I can like get a back and forth with you for whatever. I'm not trying to get into like arguments with you guys through comments. You know what I'm saying? If you really want to argue with me, man, and you really want to, I'm talking about specifically SSRIs right now. But if you want to argue me on any of my videos ever, then get yourself a fucking camera and a microphone. Put yourself together a little podcast or something so we can look more professional while we argue. I'm not going to argue with your ass in the comment section, man. I ain't got the fucking time for it. I don't care. But if you leave a comment, I might like it. I got time to like it, just to encourage your engagement. But otherwise, man, if you're going to talk shit, bro, just you put yourself on camera. Do it like a man. I'm not going to waste my time in the comment section. I don't know where that came from. I guess that came from if you got an opinion on SSRIs and I just have a preconceived notion that someone's going to talk shit about me, about SSRIs in comment sections, probably on TikTok. So if that's what you plan on doing, sure, do it. But I'm not really going to respect you as someone talking shit, like a real valued member of, I guess, the TikTok community talking shit, unless you put yourself on video talking shit, dog. Like, and then you might get my attention. I'm more of a visual guy anyway, so either way, I guess that was a little tangent on the comment section. But yeah, look, biggest thing I take away from today, SSRIs, they're dangerous. I think they can be dangerous. I think they can be addictive. I think that anything you add to your routine becomes an addiction, whether you like to believe it or not. People do things that make them happy on a regular basis, not because they're addicted like a drug, but because it's like it's a routine, right? But you pull that out of there. Like fishing is a routine, right? I'm not saying that's a drug, but like it's a routine. Let's say you go fishing, 3 times a week in the same pond, right? Let's say you pull that away from your life. There's going to be a negative like outcome to pulling that away. That it's like pulling an addiction away, man. So the 1 to 8 weeks thing is for me, that's a sales pitch, bro. Even if it does take 8 weeks for some people, but only 1 week for some people, for other people, which is another weird thing, that it takes 1 week on some people, but 8 on others is another fucking weird thing. But if someone tells you have to sign up for their service for 8 weeks for it to make an effect, it's like, dude, you got to be fucking kidding me, bro. Like it doesn't sound right. Unless, I guess, like if it's fucking braces, I guess. Yeah, that might work in the orthodontics industry. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might need to wear braces for like a year to see an effect. But SSRIs, man, if I need to take something and literally affect the chemicals in my body for 8 weeks just to see if there's an effect on my body, like, I think that's a good way to get someone hooked on something. It just makes sense. All right, you guys, have your own opinions, please. Like, follow, subscribe, Treeline Podcast. I love you guys. Have a great day today. I'm out of here. I'm going to fucking go try to make some money on the road delivering these Uber Eats. So if you got Uber Eats, order some food, tip your Uber driver, your Uber Eats driver. I love you guys. Have a great day. Don't work too hard out there. Later.